Greetings and welcome to the Philosopher's Corner. Today I'd like to talk briefly about some implications of physical cosmology. In particular, I'd like to discuss an image mentioned by David Bohm in this particular text here, I believe, Wholeness in the Implicate Order. David Bohm is, a well-known world-class physicist, and he believed that quantum physics was not really indeterminate, because there were hidden variables that we just can't get at or can't see right now, that if we could finally get at those, then we would see that the indeterminate world of quantum physics actually turns out to be determinate. Now, whether or not that is the case, I'm not concerned with here. I don't think most physicists embrace that particular view of quantum physics, but at any rate, Professor Bohm was attempting in his text to help us understand how he understood physical cosmology, or the creation of the physical universe. And so what he does is introduce an image of an ocean that is stretched out infinitely, and there are little waves constantly cropping up or popping up on the surface of this ocean. The ocean represents the source from which the Big Bang came. So, of course, for me, that would be the creative resource. And the little waves are actually the creative resource erupting into virtual reality on a perpetual and continuous basis. Now, what Professor Bohm says, if you want to understand the Big Bang, just imagine if a whole bunch of these tiny little eruptions on the surface of the creative resource all happened, or many of them happened, in one place at the same time. It would cause a large splash or a large fountain of water to come up off the ocean, of course, implying that an even more complex universe or reality comes into existence. And as a matter of fact, we can actually view the little waves cropping up all over as virtual universes that come into being, but only to the point where time reversible processes occur, and so they are merely virtual universes. But when many of those come together serendipitously, as I believe Professor Bohm intended, then we can actually have the force to carry the eruption across the time reversible border and create actual reality with time irreversible processes, as we have in this particular universe, as opposed to a mere virtual reality. Now, this particular image is not inconsistent with a notion that is implied by what is called the inflation theory, version of the standard cosmological model known as the Big Bang. One of the most confusing things about the universe as we see it now is that it is so homogeneous. Everywhere we find pretty much the same stuff distributed in the same way. And actually, when we turn around and look at it, it all, again, looks all the same way. So it's isotropic as we turn it the same. As a matter of fact, homogeneity and isotropy are the two parts of what we call the cosmological principle, one of the, assumed principles of science. But we do know for sure that space is very homogeneous. And considering the age of the universe and the size of the universe, that is rather confusing, because considering the size of the universe, most of what came into existence at the Big Bang kind of would have been left behind, and we would find these dishomogeneities, but we do not. So one attempt to explain how that occurs, of course we're abducing here, we're coming up with a reason that if it is true, it could explain the situation, and that is what is called inflation theory, which says just after the Big Bang, the universe expands at an extreme rate for a short time. It inflates very quickly, and then it slows down and starts expanding at a different rate, the rate that we see it somewhat after the Big Bang. And that in itself would explain the homogeneity. At the same time, one of the implications of inflationary theory is that there could be an infinite number of universes in existence at any one time. Okay. Now, if we consider Professor Bohm's image of the ocean that stretches on, if it stretches on infinitely forever, then although we're a little concerned with this little area in here where one large splash occurs, which is a real universe, right, we have to assume that infinitely on there are an infinite number of these types of universes coming into existence as well. And so the two images are not certainly inconsistent. Now, if it is true that the creative resource creates or is constantly creating an infinite number of universes, then more than likely any one kind of universe will necessarily be in existence, perhaps all the time. If that is the case, it's hard to view the creative resource as a sort of providential being that is overseeing or looking over us, right? Because in a sense it's just creating us by default. It creates everything, every infinite possibility of universe, whether it's one-dimensional, two-dimensional, three-dimensional, or infinitely dimensional universes, all the time. And so there seems to be very little intent here, and that is a problem in considering the creative resource as I said, a providential being. Thank you.